Many of us who run businesses have people who are unbelievers running those businesses. I don't say, why are you here? Yeah. Sometimes working with people is also a tool for evangelism.
We're joined today by Pastor Laju Iren. She's an author, filmmaker, and storyteller, wife of the lead pastor at Celebration Church International. She is known for using creative media to inspire, encourage, and share faith-filled messages with a wide audience. She will be talking about faith, creative industry insight, and purpose-driven storytelling.
When I started making films, there were some things that the Lord was clear on when it came to instructions about what I should and shouldn't do.
Yes.
One of them was, if people are not married, you don't. If you come on my sets, you would realize that the people on the crew are believers. I started making films in 2020. I don't think that apart from my first feature, I ever made a profit on anything.
What?
I actually think that you do Christian films for free, equipment, and when you look at the quality of our work, you are supposed to guess. Even my YouTube film that did 1 million views, I didn't make a profit. Somebody saw me, she said, come, why do you say we should pay to see your film? Isn't all your church members that are acting there for free?
ONOBIREN.
A number of people have told me this is the best Laju Iren film I've seen, and I'm very tempted to agree with them.
What would you say Laju Iren Films has brought to the table, is bringing to the table?
I think this question
Hello there, Tolu Afilaka here. Yes, it's a new show and it's brought to you by Cafe One Studios. Cafe One Studios is out to create some of the biggest, best content across Africa and to the world. And I happen to be one of the pioneers of one of their first shows and podcasts. On our podcast, we'll be having some amazing guests that are here to stimulate and steer your mind into thinking for possibilities. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to subscribe, like, leave a comment to help the algorithm share this video to a wider audience. Let's get into the conversation. Hello, people. Welcome to another amazing episode. Anytime you see me smiling like this is because I have a very special guest. My guest today is a filmmaker, a writer, wife to one of the leading pastors of the fastest growing churches in Nigeria. She also has a movie which is coming out March 6th titled ONOBIREN. Ladies and gentlemen, some of us call her A to ZL, others call her PL. She goes by the name Pastor Laju Iren. Yes.
All right, so yeah.
Pastor Laju, how are you? This is a question I asked my guest. How are you?
I'm doing good.
What are you grateful about? How has life been for you looking back?
Doing good. I do have a bone to pick with you, number one.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever had any guests that you were not smiling when you introduced them?
Yes. My producers know.
So they would know that you don't like. Please, if you're watching this, know that he doesn't like this.
That's so much.
I'm doing good. Glad to be here today.
Thank you so much, ma. Of course, this is a very busy period for you, especially because you have your new movie coming out.
Yes, please.
And everyone is anticipating ONOBIREN. But I don't want to start with that. Okay. I want to start with the young Laju growing up. Interestingly, when I was doing some research about you, I realized that you wrote your first play in your primary school, and then they acted that play, and you were just behind the scene.
Yes.
So how was it like growing up? Were you exposed to arts, poetry, all of that, or how was it that you just delved into media?
So my dad is a doctor, but he liked to read and he liked to write. Yes. So I think I got that from him. Growing up was really beautiful for me. Yeah. We didn't have everything, but we had everything. Yeah. So it was a situation where my parents did their very best to provide all that they could for us. And then even when we didn't even have all that every other person had, we didn't seem like we lacked, because they went out of their way to just really be there for us. And they provided in the ways that counted, both on the outside and on the inside. So I did have a really good upbringing that I'm grateful to God for. And my parents really bent over backwards, even in difficult times, just to provide. But they were also very intentional about raising children who were outspoken, children who could. So when people say things like, I can never tell my dad that, I'm like, I can't relate. So I cannot. But they were also pretty disciplined as well. But they were very intentional about how they raised us, my sisters and I, and I'm very grateful for that. And my dad did instill in me a love for writing. So I did write my first play. Around that time, it was our primary 5 graduation, my primary school then. I think they said they had chosen him because I was the only one that didn't write about boy meets girl. I didn't write about the prince and the papa and the poor girl getting married. But it was a good play. But I also remember that I was supposed to be in the play, as a madman that could dance, but I couldn't dance.
Madman?
Yes, there was a madman character, but I couldn't dance, so they removed me. So all I did was take a bow at the end of the play. So that's really beautiful. I also wrote my first poem in primary 3. It was "Oh Grandpa Up in the Sky," just to edit, to say goodbye. Why should we, when we still meet up in heaven? The Lord God's bosom. My
How do you remember
grandpa
that?
died.
Primary 3.
Yeah, my grandpa died. So yeah, but I think it was in primary 3 I really fell in love with writing, because I had this teacher that was very passionate about creative writing, amongst other things. And I remember giving me feedback one day, and she said, "Oh, you have a gift for writing,
Wow.
but can you read this person's work? Can you read this person's essay book, so that you know how to better structure your thoughts?"
Yes, ma'am.
And the person whose work she had asked me to read was Ililochi Onzudene, I remember. But it just really kind of helped me give structure to what I was doing at the time. And we had this little essay book. So I think that was when I fell in love with writing in primary.
Pastor Laju, it feels like you were a Nepo baby. Were you? Because
No, I wasn't actually. My parents didn't live in their own house until we were all married and had done our master's degrees.
wow.
Yes, I wasn't a Nepo baby. In fact, my dad's a doctor,
Yes.
but he wasn't. I always tease him that he was a good doctor but a bad businessman. So so there was a time when he was working for a particular hospital, and eventually he started his own. But when he started his own, a lot of people were his partner traveled abroad, so it's not a day Japa started, and he had to close down the hospital. And then my mom had a shop. She was a teacher, but she also had a shop. And my dad, who was a trained medical doctor, had to close down the hospital, and he would come to this shop to be cutting chicken, selling chicken and coke at that time. So it wasn't, they were just educated, and they loved us, and they communicated with us. And I think that helped. Because shortly after that period, then he got a job with the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
I was in secondary school already at that time. And so that now really elevated our finances. Yes. But before then, we used to live in one house where if you want to enter the staircase of the house, you have to bend your head because the space was small. Then after bending, you have to be alert because there's water on the floor, so there are stones. So it's like a bridge. So if you don't bend and then quickly jump, your leg will enter the water. So whether it was rainy season or not, there was always water in that place because it was. But they did their best. They did. My parents were never the ones to maybe buy new things for themselves if their children were not taken care of. So we were always a priority for them. Yes. And I think that was it. Secondary school, I went to Federal Girls, Benin.
Oh.
I was a boarder for 6 years. So it was from uni that, okay, I went to a private school.
Yes.
That you could now say, okay, maybe.
Started changing.
Yes.
Yes, because I mean, when I was, like you said, you wrote a poem, and all these things are Nepo baby things. It's not the usual.
I think just the fact that my parents were educated and they were willing
helped
to invest in us, I think that really helped. So even though we were not rich in money, they were pretty rich in knowledge, in exposure to a reasonable extent. It's not as if either of us had traveled anywhere at that time, but my dad was that kind of person that used to read wide, very exposed. So I think that kind of just really helped us growing up.
Wow, that's amazing. But then, in between your stories, we're speaking about you not featuring in the. Because I always wonder, okay, Pastor Laju always writes books, directs movies, produce movies, but you never feature.
So do you think it's a scars from my childhood?
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
So I think that I have a deep respect for actors. I do.
Pastor Laju, you actually.
I have a deep respect for actors. I have some stage experience, maybe from drama unit in secondary or primary school. And for example, if you see anything that I featured in, I did one scene. Like in Last Tomorrow, I did one scene. In Silver Ever After, I did one scene. Because the level of commitment it takes to be an actor. My mom featured in an ad we did for ONOBIREN recently. It's not out yet. Yeah. And she said, "You guys, they try." Because she was like, I was there for 6 hours before they finally shot my parts. I will hold my team responsible. They were the ones who brought that. She said, I was there for 6 hours. And then he said, when I did my parts was waka pass. I said, Mom, did you see anything? She said, yes. I said something, but they didn't catch my voice. So I was just basically, so the patience it takes to be an actor, I don't have it. So I would rather, okay, I'm doing one scene. When is my part? You guys should call me. Because sometimes I even if you're playing, because no extra is is even the extras do.
It's
A lot of
to wait.
waiting
Yes.
and anything that doesn't really put me in control of my time, you're unlikely to find me there.
Wow.
So I have respect for actors and what they do, and I don't take them for granted. But I think it's just a difference between knowing what you can do once in a while and what's your core. And because of how busy I am and how intentional I am with my life by God's grace, I'm more intentional about focusing on what my core is. So, for example, I write, but I don't direct. I produce as an executive producer, but I usually have a producer on set. So it's really figuring out, okay, what am I really good at? I'm good at just really driving the vision of the company.
Yes.
I'm good at writing.
Yes.
I'm good at relating with people. I'm good at the business side of film and saying, okay, how do we make sure that this is profitable? But I think that the moment I started employing good directors, it was another level for me.
That's amazing. Okay, let's take it back because I don't know if you know, I went to Covenant University as well.
okay.
I did of course you left a track record.
Oh,
I was with
God for
SLK. I was with SLK and recently he was like, do you know that your CUTG anthem was composed by Pastor Laju? I said, how?
It was me and one other guy. So I wrote the first part. He wrote the script. We played the part. He set the stage. Our audience of one. His word made flesh, by his grace we perform through us.
Yes.
The vision lives on. Then the other part, then the other part was written by I think a guy named Daniel.
Wow.
So
because he was telling me, I was like, how can Pastor Laju? He said you were the chaplain or
yes, I was. Then the units. I don't think they still have chaplains now.
We do.
But then so I was a unit chaplain. In fact, I handed over to the person who handed over to someone who is one of our pastors now, Pastor Thomas Makinwa.
Wow.
So the person I handed over to was chaplain, handed over to him. So it's a full circle.
It was a full circle.
Even in CTG, we had Mike Amasamist who directed my first film, my second film. I think my first two films, and is still a friend. There were quite a number of CTG people there.
I remember I think there was a old CUTG clip that is on YouTube. I saw Olushola there.
Yes, that was my first encounter with Olushola. In fact, I used to work. I had graduated, but I used to work for a newspaper, and I used to cover education.
Yes.
So whenever they had drama nights, because I could cover it on the education of my paper, I would come and cover it. So that was the first. If you check, I think that's the first time Olushola was mentioned in the papers because he wrote that particular
column,
that particular drama nights film, the play. He wrote that play. And Amasamis, I think, directed it. So if I'm not mistaken, so it's a full circle moment. I think for lots of us.
It's great to see everyone, in their own part doing so well and growing. But yes, you mentioned something about your journalism. Yes, you were actually actively in journalism.
Yes, I was,
because you studied mass communication.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so why did you quit?
I'm coming. I wouldn't really say I quit. I think it was time. So I did do mass communication, but I don't think there was a part of me that wanted to spend my life as a journalist.
Yes.
My dad's a doctor, so I wanted to be a doctor, become a doctor. Wow. In fact, a pediatrician specifically. And I tell people I want to be a pediatrician. But my secondary school did this thing where even though you were a science student, you could do lots of art subjects. So I was in SS2 in FGGC, and I was doing physics, chemistry, biology. Biology was compulsory for everybody. But I dropped for that maths because I wasn't getting it. But I was also doing literature. I was doing economics. I was doing CRS. And then one day, it was SS3, and all federal schools had gone on strike. And it gave me a moment. SS3 first term, beginning of first term, but all federal schools had gone on strike. Federal schools had gone on strike. So it gave me a moment to reflect.
Yes, ma'am.
And I looked at my results. And I had a D in chemistry, C in biology, C in physics. No, you can laugh. Just laugh when I say the other parts. But then in literature, I would have an A. Wow. I was doing literature as well. In CRS, maybe I'd have an A or a B. In English, I'd have an A. In economics, an A or B. In CRS, and I told my mom, I said, Mommy, I'm going to change to art class. SS3. I said, nobody changes art class in SS3. But I looked at myself and I said, the way this result is going, I'm going to stay home. Because even with these songs, I couldn't really figure out all the parts of the activity series. Is the activity series they call it? Potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium.
Activity.
Yeah. Is it activity? I think
is it activity series?
Yes, now. Anyway, those
Periodic
whatever
table.
periodic table. I couldn't even with the song. Like I would just hook somewhere. Like, do you understand what I was doing in those classes? So, I came back and wrote a very convincing letter to the guidance counseling department because writing was my thing,
Yes, ma'am.
and they were very convinced. And so I moved from SS3D to SS3C, and I took on government for the first time. And I read exam focus from beginning to the end in SS3, and I got a B in government. So I moved from doing 9 subjects. I dropped physics and chemistry, added government to the other courses I was doing, and that's how I made my papers for. So I changed to mass comm very, very recently, but I'd always desired to make films, and I'd always loved stories. So I used to write, maybe if they were doing an event in my secondary school, then there was no form of entertainment, no smartphones, radios were rarely seen in secondary school in boarding house. So if we had meetings, I would write a poem or a short story. And I'd known the Lord early enough. So many of my short stories and poetry were faith-based. And I used to say when I grow up, these are the kind of things I would like to write. And so I had also like kind of had a love for film. But you have to remember, this was before YouTube.
Yes, I thought.
There wasn't. I wanted to go and work for Tyler Perry, and I didn't. There was no social media.
Big dreams.
Because he used to make just Christian films at the time. I used to find that pretty inspiring. But there was no social media. There was no
To connect.
So I sure went and did the mass comm, and I knew that the Lord would have had me stay in the space where I was for about 5 years, because I had a sense that I was supposed to leave before my daughter turned. I think before she turned 2 or 1. I can remember. I think before she turned 2, if I'm not mistaken. So it just came to a moment and a season where my time was up. So it wasn't like I was pursuing journalism. In fact, if I wanted to choose an aspect of mass communication, I may not have chosen print journalism. But NYSC found me there, and I just knew that the Lord would have me be there at that particular point in time, because it happened to be something that could fit into my schedule. Remember, ministry I said at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
So it happened to be something that could fit into my schedule for ministry as well, because I had considered broadcast. But I remember speaking to somebody I respected in broadcast, and I was like, when last did you go to church? And he said, I can't remember, because I don't always have Sundays off. And I was like, this is not for me. And it wasn't really as democratized, where maybe one could have their own podcast so easily. So when I resigned my job, I thought I was going to be a blogger. I thought I was going to be a Christian blogger. So I used to write lots of articles on LajuIren.com, and I'd get my friends who had businesses to try and just sponsor something on the website.
So you had a website?
Yes, I did.
Domain. Wow.
Yeah, it's still active.
Wow.
I don't know,
Yeah,
it's still
active, of
active.
course.
So many of something like Dating Intelligently was first a series of articles on my website. Something like Selfies the Bible Girls was first a series of articles on my website. And then I now moved into becoming an author. So that was my primary focus, apart from ministry, which has been a constant throughout my life. And then I wrote Loving Amanda. And when I wrote Loving Amanda, it rekindled my love for film.
What of Girlcopedia?
Girlcopedia, I wrote that. That was the first book I wrote after I graduated. Oh, wow. Yes. That's first ever book I wrote. And then I did a reprint years later. So when I wrote Loving Amanda, that was my first fiction. So I was like, this would be nice as a film. And I was reaching out to the 1-2 people I knew who were filmmakers, and they weren't really giving me like active feedback. And now I know why, because for every filmmaker you meet, they have 15 ideas and only money to sponsor 2. so even when people pitch an idea to me, I'm like, like I can't really take your idea now, because I have lots of ideas and I've not really been able to fund all of them, right? So that now rekindled my love for, okay, I want to make this particular film, Loving Amanda. Yes. Let me even get into film myself, since I'm not seeing a clear pathway into any other person helping me with it. And so that was how I started making short films. And then I made a short film, 2 short films. I made a series.
Yes, there was one Amanda Dara was on.
Yes, that was my first short film. Yes. It was
Love is
a Star. Love is a Star. That was my first short film, and then we moved from there to finally actually making Loving Amanda. And then I've gone on to make other features until we're now here at what I think is our 10th film. ONOBIREN. I think ONOBIREN is our 10th or 11th film. I need to calculate properly.
That name ONOBIREN, what does that mean? What does it mean?
It means woman. It means woman.
I thought you were trying to say OMOBIREN, because OMOBIREN in Yoruba means this woman. So I thought you were trying to. I didn't quite understand, but I said I was going to ask you.
You don't understand that there are other languages apart from Yoruba. I don't get it.
Pastor Laju.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I also get where you're coming from. Yoruba
Yeah.
and Shekiri are a little similar.
the names
So
and-
yeah, but Onobiren is woman in Shekiri.
Yeah. Pastor Laju, where are you from?
I'm Shekiri.
Oh wow, because even Laju sounds Yoruba.
Yeah, but
Laju.
well, what will it be, Laju?
Laju, exactly.
Yeah. And who will name their child Laju? So it's Ushorishe Laju.
Ushorishe Laju.
The handwork of God is great. So it's like Ishe Oluwatobi, I
Yes.
think.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So before we leave your early days and enter into some film, I remember I watched that interview while doing my little research. I saw that you said you knew God quite early, and even when you were in exams and sitting down with a friend, you didn't allow them to copy.
So interestingly, it was me and my friend who made the decision not to even copy. So nobody would even come near me because they already knew that if they ask me, I won't answer.
So you had a clear sense of purpose about God quite early, writing about Him, even writing articles about Him and putting online.
I think it's all the Lord. It's all Him.
Who was teaching you? Who was training you?
I think in my very early days, my closest mentor was my elder sister. I have two older sisters. So the one they're both really good mentors to me up until today. But the one who was just right above me, we were in the same secondary school, was my sister Toju. She was 3 years ahead. And so when the time I entered FGGC, she was in SS1. So I joined all the units she was in. She was in the visitation unit, so I'll join. She was in drama groups, so I'll join. So as she was graduating, in fact, after she graduated, by the time I was in SS2, I was holding all the positions that she had held. And she was not even the one who handed over to me. She had graduated like 3 years before.
Yes,
but somehow she was SU president, I became SU president. She was drama unit president, I became drama unit president. She was visitation president, I became visitation president. She was a follow-up teacher. I became a follow-up teacher. And we did have a very strong fellowship in my secondary school at that time. So I think that really helped. Just having someone I could look up to could just show me the ropes.
Oh, that's so powerful. Anyways, I don't want to go into, because a lot of people have heard the story how you met Basti and all of that. But of course, I know you spend quite a number of time with him, and I just want to just pick this segment and actually tell us about the man Apostle Iren, the man that we do not see in terms of his work ethic. Because man, Pastor works hard.
He's a hard worker.
Yes, because last week I was watching T30. All of a sudden, I know that they do T30 regular. All of a sudden, I see that he's in UK. Next, he's back in Nigeria. He's preaching. I don't think Pastor has rested since they did reboot camp. Because I actually keep track record. I was like, after the service, he was back on Sunday, went to Canada, came back, and just kept going, kept doing midweek. So he did tarry.
I think he makes the effort to rest. Of course, as his wife, I do wish he would rest more. But I know that he tries. He tries. And then beyond that, he has his priorities straight. So he's not, of course, he's a driven person, loves the Lord, is very passionate about what God has called him to do. And he's passionate about excellence. He will say, let people who are not working for money work harder than us who are working for souls. And I think that's so powerful. But he also really shows up for his family.
Yes.
He does. He
says that a lot.
He really shows up for his family. No matter how busy he is, just really being a very present dad. And he also really is very particular about his work with the Lord. So no matter how busy my husband is, he must pray personally. Not even praying for like ministry or things or people, but just personal devotion. He must study his Bible, personal devotion. He must learn something new every day. He just has that. He's just really a great guy. Great guy.
Do you think it's just peculiar to him, or?
I think that he's done the work.
Okay.
I think that the discipline necessary to do what he's doing at the level that he's doing it, of course, there's a lot of grace. But I think he's also really very intentional about putting systems and structures in place. And he tries his very best. Nobody's perfect, but he does try his very best. And he's a great guy. Not be sure. He's really a great guy.
What are some key lessons, aside him being your pastor, what are some things that you learned from him?
I learned from my husband how to be audacious. I think that's a major thing. My parents taught me to be confident. But I think there was also a conservative way in which I may have always made decisions before meeting my husband. But he'll say, why don't you do it big? Why don't you? Why don't you? So he would always push you to be better, not necessarily define you by how well you're doing, but just from the moment we're friends. If you see yourself, when I saw myself through his eyes, I loved what I saw, and it inspired me to be better. So he he's also very, very, very intentional about believing in people, investing in people. He's a people's person in the real sense of the word. So he would really root for people that he believes in. He's very wise. I think everybody knows Apostle knows Bible, but he's also very perceptive about things that might not even be directly Bible related. Another thing I would say is that my husband is quite teachable as a person. And I think that that's something that that's really blessed us in our marriage, because you have somebody who's willing to do better, even though he's a strong person in his own rights. And you may not always respond to situations the way I would respond, because we're two different people. But I've seen a lot of growth, constant growth, and just a heart that does love the Lord and love people, and is very passionate about the body of Christ as a whole. And he really does care about people. And I think those are the things I've learned from him: to care about people, to be audacious, to work hard, to think outside the box, to do things big, and not downplay your graces. I think I just really, because I followed my husband longer than we've been married.
Yes.
And I remember many years ago, I think I was in 200 level, so 100 level. I started following him from. We're friends from my 100 level. I think ministry started when I was in 200 and he was in 100, which I value fellowship at the time. And I remember him gathering us. How old were we? 16, 17. And we are 5. Yes. He said, so how can we take Lagos in 2 years? I'm like, bro, I just arrived from secondary school. But he's always really been just that big picture person.
Yes.
But really with a very humble heart.
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of being a big dreamer, being a big achiever, but also just really having a heart for people. But he's not somebody that you can take advantage of.
Yeah.
So he's very balanced in that area.
What about kindness? 'Cause I remember there was a time that he shared a story one time that you guys were in the bus, and maybe somebody came to beg for alms, and then he was about to give the person you not tapped you and said, "What are you doing?"
No. That was it. I don't want to speak on that. That's not exactly what happened. Yeah. But I don't want to speak on that because that's that's a different. That's not how it happened.
Okay.
But my husband is the kind of person that would just say, God asked us to give this person this thing, and to be a very big thing, or you say, I don't know if I remember to tell you, but we did this thing for this person. And it's not once a month. It's not twice a month. He just really has a heart for people. He's a really, really, really kind person. And he, of course, I think for us as believers, it's a case of let your right hand not know what your left hand is doing. So there are some things that Apostle Iren has done that is in heaven some people will know. Is in heaven some people will know. Just life's changed by he just has that. He's constantly thinking about, okay, what can we do for this person? How can we? He's very, and he's always been like that. Even when maybe we didn't have all the resources, he would always just really show up for people. When I was in 100 level, not 200 level, I used to have an organization called Unveiling. And what we used to do then, I don't run it anymore. I'd rather contribute to causes I believe in, because I don't enjoy the day-to-day of running a foundation. But then one of the first things we did was we fed all the security men in school at that time. I heard
that about cleaners too.
Yes, you're very right. Cleaners and security men. You don't hear plenty just to. And I remember we were running out of money, and he was just my friend at that time, and he attended the youth fellowship that I was a part of, and he came back in an envelope, and then they used to sell food tickets for as low as 100 naira in CU then. So he came with an envelope. We were feeding them in cafeteria. He said, "I just wanted to give you this to support what you are doing." And it touched me for a large number of reasons. First of all, we had not calculated properly. You know, you're in 100 level, it's only for the first time. I was already panicking. How will we feed the remaining people? And then he just shows up and says, "I want to support, and we're able to feed like the remaining 10, 15 people on that money that he gave me in an envelope that day. And he's been like that consistently over the years. So he's really a great guy. And for me, I think it was never just about how does the person I marry treat me. It was also about how he treats others, even the least of these. And he's very, beyond being generous, is very respectful of people as well.
Powerful. Yeah, he also speaks so highly of you. I remember he said recently that you bought him sandals, that he likes it, and he was telling everybody, my wife bought me sandals. And then you also I think polished the sandal for him. I think so he also definitely speaks so highly of you and loves you so much. Yeah, so Bachelor, let's now enter into film.
I thought we were rounding off.
Yeah, we're rounding up.
Okay.
That's why we're going into film.
Okay.
Yes, so movies. What would you say? What would you, because everyone goes into an industry, there are definitely problems they're trying to solve or things they have seen that should be better. What would you say Laju Iren Films has brought to the table or is bringing to the table?
I like this question a lot. I think for us, and we are seeing more of that now. First of all, I respect the way everybody makes the films that God has called them to make, because there are some audiences that I would speak to that some other people might not speak to. There are some audiences that some other people would speak to that I may not really be able to speak to in my work. But I wanted to do Christian stories that were relatable without necessarily pushing the envelope in terms of conviction. So, for example, I think that was very important to me. I didn't feel like people needed to be so unnecessarily physical to show that it's a natural progression in a relationship. But I also didn't feel that they needed to be standoffish in terms of the way they related. So I think for me, it was really about making inspiring stories creatively and relatably. I think that was a major thing. But I know that many more people are doing that now. But when we first started, that was really the goal, because you have extremes many times when it comes to filmmaking, where people say something is a Christian film, but all the thing does is cast aspersion on the faith, on the church. And I'm not saying that the church is perfect.
Yes.
Because, for example, if you watch Loving Amanda, my first feature, you see two different sides of the church. You see some people who are pretty judgmental, but you also really see church people who are loving, which is the true state of things. I remember preaching a message, or was it a TED Talk? And I was talking about how many people here have had the church pay their house rent or their school fees, or start a business for them, or show up for them when they were depressed emotionally, and everybody's hand was up.
True.
And I was like, where are the stories?
People don't say it.
Where are the stories? But there are lots of examples and experiences like that. There can be a tendency to go for the loud, controversial stories. It's easy to make a loud, controversial story and slap Christianity on it. But to really be very intentional about presenting the truth of what Christ stands for, of what the church stands for, and to deal with like real life issues. So, for example, we've dealt with issues like male infertility before, and probably we'll still touch a little bit on it in ONOBIREN. In fact, in Silver Ever After, it wasn't just male infertility. It had to do with male sexuality, but it wasn't
full blown.
It was just something that was a natural conversation starter. So talking about the issues, but not in a way that is obscene, but also not sugarcoating the issues in the name of this is faith-based. So I think that balance is, if I always say that, I don't know about the devil being in the details, but if you look at the extremes, you'll find him there. So just really bringing balanced storytelling, I think, is so important. Just beyond how faith speaks to the faith aspect of our lives, how faith speaks to every aspect of our lives. And I think that stories change our minds by targeting our hearts. So I think that would be it for us. Just creative storytelling in a way that is relatable, but that still has faith at the core. That would be it for.
Yeah, I think that brings clarity. But okay, before as we start to round up gradually, it won't be right for me if I don't ask this question, because one of my people asked me And I said, if I see Pastor Laju, I'll ask. Okay, a lot of people say, okay, it's faith-based and all of that. And then why do we have secular actors in those movies?
In those
if
movies.
you don't want us to ask this, I can take it out.
Ask.
Okay. So why do we have secular actors in those movies?
So I think that people should do what is within the area of their convictions. So for example, for me, when I started making films, there were some things that the Lord was clear on when it came to instructions about what I should and shouldn't do.
Yes.
One of them was, if people are not married, you don't kiss in my films. If they're not married in real life, they don't kiss in my films. That's me. Decent dressing was also a thing, but we wanted it to be as real as possible without necessarily crossing into.
Yes.
And then it also came to do with, what do the stories themselves stand for? Because when you start a business, many times, so if you come on my sets, you would realize that like 90% of the people on the crew are believers.
Wow.
At least 90. But for us, it was, we want actors who, it's okay, who are well behaved, who are, if we find a good actor who is a believer and can deliver, fine by us. But I cared more about finding actors that were drama free.
Controversy.
Not that. No, not even not that, because people can do better. They can have a past and come back and do better.
True.
But I used to always say that the only drama I want on set is the one we are acting.
I like that.
Like I don't want you to start insulting my crew so those are the things that we looked out for. But like I said, I think that if people say that this is their instruction from the Lord to make a film where all the actors are born again and church people, and that's what the Lord has told them to do, I think that's absolutely fine. But it wasn't an instruction that I myself received. So at the end of the day, there are some people who will only watch a film where everybody's a believer, and that's fine. Do you understand? There's some people who say, I only want to watch what's it called? Nollywood no faces. That's also fine. Some of the things that we do, for example, is we bring our own people and we bring the Nollywood people and we put them together. Some other times I've also realized that there are some people who are what you call a no-Nollywood face that have never really had the chance to be on a Christian set, but probably once had spiritual convictions or were believers. But the pressures of the world and the cares of, I've had someone tell me, I'm so grateful for your sets because I didn't feel like I had to kiss anybody in a way that made me uncomfortable. I was comfortable with the way I was treated, with the space that I was given. When I've had people say, when I first started making films, there was no set like this where I felt safe enough to express my convictions. So there are people that you are going to reach simply because of that.
Yes.
But I think it came down to, if I have an instruction to only do this, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. But I don't have any such convictions. I do know that if I make a story, I'm clear about what the story stands for. I'm clear about what the story stands for. I'm intentional also about the business aspect of filmmaking for me. And it doesn't mean that any other person who does it purely as ministry is in the wrong, because remember, I'm talking about personal convictions.
Yes.
But because I'm intentional about that, that also comes to play in the decisions I make. But if I find somebody who's a believer, who's a good actor, I'll probably throw them in with somebody who most people profess. There are some people who profess faith, but are not yet there. So you might, when you talk to them, say this person believes in Jesus, but they are not yet in that 100% yet. And I will not, for example, I'm not inviting the person to preach in my church or to disciple people.
Okay.
Or
and
I'm not saying for the life of this person, because many of us who run businesses have people who are unbelievers running those businesses, who are working in those businesses. I don't say, why are you here? Yeah. So it comes down to personal convictions, what as the Lord told you, and understanding too that sometimes working with people is also a tool for evangelism, where you meet this person at a Nollywood level, but you are able to connect on a deeper level and actually reach them with the gospel. But like I said, if I received an instruction from the Lord, only tongue-speaking believers,
You do it.
I'll do it, but I haven't received such instruction. So that's why I moved the way I moved.
Okay, that's beautiful. At least it brings clarity, because some people even ask me, even some people in this studio, at one point fingers.
At the end of the day.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it's fine if people have that conviction. Absolutely.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so Pastor Laju, I don't want to keep you too long. I don't know. I cringe when I say Pastor Laju because I wanted this to be, but it's okay. It's all right. All right. ONOBIREN, what should we expect? I've been seeing reviews. I saw Auntie Tara, watch it. She was looking so excited. I saw
I've seen people that were crying.
I haven't.
I'm going to post that one next week or later this week.
Yes. I also saw that you have a podcast specifically for the woman's podcast.
The woman's story.
The woman's story, yes. And I saw the reviews are writing. So what should we expect from it?
A number of people have told me this is the best Laju Iren film I've seen, and I'm very tempted to agree with them, because in terms of execution, we went 110%. So artistically, this is our best work so far. Stories can be relative. There's some people that no matter what I do in this world, you see that Loving Amanda I made in 2021, it will be their best film. Yeah, but I also think it's a very unique story. We haven't done anything like this in particular before. So artistically, in terms of cinematography, set design, we shot in Warri and in Lagos.
Oh, wow.
So when you see all those actual people on the river, on the sea, we used real fisher women. Oh, wow. So yeah, we went all out. We shot some scenes in the King's Palace in Warri. We shot some scenes in Lagos.
That's Olu of Warri.
Yes, in the Olu of Warri's Palace. Their foundation, Royal Library Foundation, partnered with us on that. And then the story is very unique. It starts in a particular way, but it doesn't continue in the way we think is going to continue, because we wanted something that elevates. Excuse me.
It's okay.
Wanted something that elevates women's voices from away from the norm. So it's a woman's story, but in many ways it's kind of a man's story. It's kind of a faith story. It's kind of a business story. It's kind of a love story. So it's really a lot of things. It is one thing, but within that one thing there are lots of layers to it. This is, I think, the largest all-star cast ensemble we've had.
Yes,
so Priscilla Zoko, Nobe Young, Bisola, Ruby Akobreze, Trude, Desmond Bright. I know I'm forgetting somebody. Please, who is the person I'm forgetting? Tell me now.
I think you've said it on the poster.
But we have Timitokpe. Ade there from Just Us Girls. I watched Just Us Girls, and I was like, I like you. So we do. It's a beautiful film. It's going to be a film that makes you even more empathetic to the people around you. It's to be a film that makes you dream, that makes you want to do better for the community as a person. And I think a film that does in many ways strengthen your faith. So the acting is 100%, the production is 100%. It's a beautiful story in itself. So just like wow. Hey, yes, no. So what maybe we can have a conversation later when it's out and you say, Pio, you told me. And I'll be like, yeah, I told you. Well, yeah. I think I believe, I know that we did good work, and every other person who's seen it agrees that we did great work.
How many writers? You were part of the story?
So I wrote the entire thing myself.
Oh, wow.
But I did have a couple of consultants, because we made this in partnership with Africa No Filter and CC Hub Creative Economy Practice. So thankfully they had a grant in line with the Gates Foundation, and they said, we're looking for people to elevate women's stories. And it's very easy when it comes to international organizations, say, no, those ones, I don't want to be a part of it. But I've realized that you need to be in the room where some of the decisions are being made, that you make the decisions. You make those decisions and you make it in line with the right convictions. So that people don't feel like you have to pull down men, for example, to elevate women's stories, or like you have to pull down faith to elevate some ideas. But when you're in the rooms where the decisions are being made and your work is so good that it cannot be ignored, even in what people consider to be a contemporary setting. So it's still, in fact, at the end of the film, I told I said, put to God be the glory. Right? So just when you are part of those decisions, it's easier to still go in line with what God will have you do, but still have the excellence to represent on what people will call a secular level, just like Daniel. And I think that's so important. So it's really been a beautiful journey for us. I can't even complain.
Beautiful. Pastor Laju, before I give you your flowers, I just want to ask one more question. What are the challenges you faced?
Have we said what's ONOBIREN cinemas from March 6th? I'm trying to see if he's in here. What's ONOBIREN cinemas from March 6th? I'm pre-order tickets at ONOBIREN.com in case he doesn't ask me any question. Sorry, that's my... God will bless you. So what's ONOBIREN cinemas from March 6th? And don't forget to pre-order tickets at ONOBIREN.com. Your question.
Yes. What are some challenges you made in this movie that is making you so excited?
I think it might be my journey as a whole. I started making films in 2020.